My dear people of the United Kingdoms of Tikar, Bamenda Highlands, I greet you all. There is a saying that a problem well stated is a problem half solved. So if you can have a proper diagnosis of your problem, that problem is halfway solved. So this video is an attempt to diagnose the problem in this geographical location called Cameroon, so that you can have perspective on the way moving forward. We are going to have key individuals that will participate in this conversation. Issa Chiroma Bakari, Chris Anu, Philemon Young. Through these individuals, we will have this interaction and have perspective on what the real problem in this geographical location called Cameroon is really all about. Let's take a listen.
Hello.
Hello, Mr. Chiroma. Good morning, sir. This is Chris Anu with the Cameroon Journal.
Chris, vous ne pouvez pas parler en français? Vous êtes Camerounais, non?
Well, Mr. Minister, you know I don't understand French. I know very little of French. I know you're trying to get me do what I can't.
If you listen to that audio, Chris Anu calls Issa Chiroma Bakari. This is a public servant. He picks up the phone immediately. He asks him, can you speak French? A public servant should understand how to speak both English and French, because he's out there to serve the people. How can I serve you if I can't articulate in the language that you best understand? This is what is going on even in the Anglophone zone. It's not like Issa Chiroma can't speak English. He's very proficient, fluent in both English and French. But he picks up the phone. I'm Chris Anu from the Cameroon Journal. He switches it immediately and asks him, oh, Cameroon is bilingual. Come on. It is the responsibility of the citizens to understand how to speak English and French, not the servants. This is the big issue. So if you think that the problem in this country is Paul Biya, and if we bring him down, everything will be solved, then you don't really understand this country. And if you don't understand your problem well, it's like drinking aloe vera, hoping to solve a chronic headache. And you can drink even a bucket of that aloe vera, it won't take that headache away. You need Tylenol. Fair? So this issue trickles down to the citizens as well. So when we are talking about this Anglophone marginalization, there is that mindset of superiority within the typical Francophone community. And you can't take this out by just removing Paul Biya alone. So you break down the problem and understand exactly what you're dealing with. What if Issa Chiroma Bakari becomes president and switches back to the CPDM political system that he has known his entire life? Because after 40, it is hard to change. If you've done any form of investment, you know that people have very little tolerance for risk when they've gone above 40. One thing you should understand, my people, is there are three problems in this country. And then we'll go ahead and diagnose that problem and listen to Chris Anu. It's very important. There are three primary issues in this country. Number one, those who came into power in their 20s, in their 30s, They believe today that there is no generation of people that will ever emerge within the same age group that they came into power and lead in this country. So they were the last that will ever exist in the history of this country to emerge as leaders within that age. Now they are old, so they believe they are the only ones that can lead. And so they will continue forever. And then the second group of people, and this is within the Anglophone community as well, are those who are maybe 50 and above. They believe that they are the ones that can lead, and anyone below that age group doesn't have what it takes. And then the people believe that they can never have someone within that age group that can lead as well. And anyone that is older is automatically qualified. That is, if your face is wrinkled, you are qualified to lead. Because if you look at this entire election, there was an emphasis on coalition. Even if you were young and competent, have a vision, have an idea that resonates with the people, automatically they wanted you to become part of a coalition. And because of that, we will not vote for you. Issa Chiroma never joined a coalition, and they came out in their numbers, including the Anglophone zone where the crisis is going on. People came out in their numbers, right, to show support for Issa Chiroma Bakari. So this is the power that the people have. But they will turn around and deny tomorrow that they don't have power. All the power is with the leader. So you see, these are some challenges mentally that, if not broken, people will continue to look and think that some savior will come from the sky and change their conditions, when they have convinced themselves to believe in what they have been conditioned to believe their entire life. Because this is programming. We have been programmed with a certain image that a leader looks old, has wrinkled face, struggles to walk. So we have been programmed to believe that that is what a leader looks like. So if we see anything other than that image, no, we don't really believe that is a true leader. I would like us to continue listening. The lady who had a recent interview with Chris Anu made a very important statement, and I think that will help for this conversation. There is an illustration that I will make as well that will help us have clarity on this. Let's take a listen.
I'm going to quote a lady like Rebecca Enonchong, is that he is the opportunity to trigger change. He is a tool to trigger change, which could also, ease out the conversation you want to have with Larry Public, right?
You were a minister at the age of 28.
She said, a lady, Rebecca, said, Issa Chiroma Bakari is the opportunity to trigger change. Like I said, this entire campaign was run on the premise of who can bring down Pobia. It's not about change. It's not about progress, little vision. But this individual came out of the same system. The public trusted him more than the young people that we saw who were presidential candidates. The individuals in this country did not see any hope in any of those individuals, and they want change. Someone who has worked in the system, including Maurice Kamto, which was their best option initially. So this is how people are conditioned over time. And when I look at Cameroon, it's a classic proof of how human beings can be trained from one generation to another to think, act, and behave a certain way and don't know it. We will listen to a brief excerpt from an interview that was conducted with former Prime Minister Philemon Yang. And I think it will really help us make progress with this conversation. But the issue is, I want you to start asking certain questions. right? What you have been conditioned to look like, think like, act like for your entire life. And unless you step back and ask me, what is happening, right? Is it like we turned around and gave everything back to CPDM? Is that what we just did? Right? We really want change, but when we see young people who show up with the idea of change, do we embrace that? Fair? So let's listen to this clip, because the people that have sparked genuine change, my friends, most of them throughout history that have changed this world that we see today are between the ages of 30 to 40. Anything outside of that, even God used Jesus Christ at the age of 30 to 33. You understand? Mark Zuckerberg, the same thing. If there is anyone that is above 40, my people, you will not see change in this country. Any leader that shows up to trigger change in this country, with all what we have gone through, and is above the age of 40, my friend, the chances of that individual bringing about real change is very slim, like 5% chance of anyone that is above the age of 40 to bring about genuine change that will last, and the common man in the suburbs feel the impact. If that individual is above the age of 40, my friend, history has shown us time again and again and again, the individuals that have transformed this world, even in 2025, real change that broke the status quo, that has transformed mankind, was within the age of 30 to 40. Jesus Christ, the greatest religion on earth, was in his 30s. Islam, Muhammad was 40 when he founded that religion. So there is something about pattern recognition between the ages of 30 to 40. If there's any leader that shows up with a vision that is above that age, there is a question sign around that vision, if it will bring about real change. You see why Amazonia is all confused, and Gojin Tikar founded that vision at the age of 54. Before you notice it, he was old, could not pick up the vision. Now, almost everyone that is running after that vision is just a manager and will never have what it takes to bring about real change. Let's listen to Philemon Young. Is this getting you somewhere? Are you understanding what I'm talking about? Yeah, you have to understand what is happening with you as an individual. This thing is not just for beer. You have to understand the system within this country, the behavior of the people in this country. So let's listen to this excerpt of this interview, and then we'll make progress.
When you were proposing to the president to appoint ministers as prime minister, did you ever, in your mind at one moment, say that, okay, I was minister at the age of 28, let us create another record. I will propose a young man of, let me say, 26 years to be prime minister, or 25. Did that ever happen in your mind?
I think I wouldn't, because by the time I was prime minister, I was far more mature. And every country evolves with the circumstances.
He was made minister at the age of 28. And he began by saying, I wouldn't. Did it ever cross your mind that there was some young person that you could recommend to become minister? I wouldn't, because at that time I was mature. So after me, none will ever come. So we are living in a society where you have leaders in authority that genuinely believe that they were the last batch or the last group of people to ever emerge within that age group and become leaders in this country. This is what the people who are leading you believe about you, the citizens. and they've conditioned you to believe this narrative, that they were the last batch of leaders to emerge in their 20s and their 30s and lead a country. So after that, none will ever emerge again. So thinking this way about your people, it is sad. That means we are living in a hopeless society. Our leaders in this country believe that they are the best, and none will ever come close to what they have achieved. Imagine that your father or mother thinks this way about you, that the success that they have achieved, you will never surpass that. And yet you turn around the world, you see young people creating, inventing, building, but the leaders over you think that you are incompetent. Moses took the children of Israel out of Egypt, but he passed the baton over to Joshua to take the people into the promised land. He understood that life is a race, transformation is a journey. You get at some stage, you have to mentor the next generation and pass the baton when it is time. This is a ceiling on progress in this country, and the people have been conditioned to believe this. So if you don't see people with wrinkled faces, now you don't believe that that individual can bring about change. And yet we want something new, we want something different, we want something better, we want jobs, we want roads. To break this initial resistance, again, if that leader is above the age of 40, forget about it. Go do your research on that and see the leaders. That's why even Amadu Ahijo came to power at the age of 35. Paul Biya started working in that government at the age of 29. Philemon Yang came in at the age of 28. You understand? Even though they haven't made significant impact in our lives, but that is the age that they had the opportunity to serve in this country. And they think none will ever come after them at that age and serve. So let's keep listening. But there is a lot for you to learn in this video, so that you see where you find yourself.
Today, I think this country is by far more complicated than it was in 1975. And the issues are by far more complicated. So the idea of just appointing people to make sense or to please young people, I don't think that would be fundamentally a good thing. They should be appointed because they can handle the responsibility and do it well.
And this is the thing, because it is very complicated. What do you think they will prioritize? Stability. Because that is what they have known their entire life. And so is Issa Chiroma Bakari. In investment, the same principle applies. People have very little tolerance for risk after the age of 40. Few people can have the courage to take risk and to transform a country like this. You must take risk. And that is why America works, because risk taking is rewarded in this country. That is what the entrepreneurial spirit in America is all about. And that is why they are blessed. And as a young person in this country, it's time for you to start thinking, why did you look at all these presidential candidates? Issa Chiroma said there was no Anglophone crisis. So your premise is, you know that your problem exists, but this individual denies the existence of your problem. Him getting to the place where he acknowledges that your problem existed, when you know that problem existed initially, makes him trustworthy to go vote for him? I mean, think about it. You know this problem exists. You feel this problem every day. Issa Chiroma knows this problem exists. He denies the existence of that problem. Him changing his mind to acknowledge your problem makes him trustworthy. That individuals rush to the voting booth to vote him, come out in their numbers to vote him as a presidential candidate. Let's keep listening.
And I would tell you, sir, if you're going to look for a surgeon to go into the theater, does the age count? You're looking more for the most experienced surgeon that can bring health to the people who will be taken into the theater.
I like your medical analogy.
He uses a counter DEI argument, right, to soften the question and justify the reason why young people can never lead like them. The country is complicated. Yes, it should be. That is why I said most of them came to power when the population in this country was not what it is today. Secondly, most of them come from tribes and they've never led this number of people. So it should be really complicated for them. And because they can't handle change, we have to maintain the status quo. And again, if you hope that anyone above the age of 40 will bring about change in this country, think again. We are looking at a first world country in the United Kingdoms of Tikar. Not the second and not the third world country. And for that to happen, my people, you need people with energy that can build things, and it doesn't work, they break it down, start all over again, and they can do it again and again. And we need people with courage that are willing to take a risk. That they can build things and it doesn't work, they break it down, start all over again, try, fail until they get it right. These individuals, Issa Chiroma Bakare included, do you think he can take any risk? How long is he going to live? Does he have the energy? Can he even do 10 or 20 push-ups? Energy is everything. This is what you have been conditioned to believe a leader looks like. And this is believed across the entire nation. This is what the people in this country believe, predominantly. Very few people think otherwise. This is what the people in this country have been conditioned to believe. That is Cameroon for you. Now, there is an illustration that I will display for you to understand, especially those from the Tikar land, to understand where you find yourself. Again, these are 4 distinct civilizations, like 4 distinct countries stitched together. Now it is divided into 2 Anglophone Francophones. Fair? But initially these are 4 distinct civilizations. We have the Highlands, that is the west region and northwest. We had the coastal people, that is the Douala, Kribi, and the southwest. We had the east central, that is the Beti, Bulufang, Betwa, and then we have the north. These are the 4 distinct groups that make up this country. And over time, you might forget who you are. And today now, you're probably northwest, southwest, you're Anglophones, Francophones. Imagine 400 years in bondage in Egypt. The Israelites are told that this is who you are. Your grandfather, Joseph, was a governor in this country. And that is how we came over here, because there was famine in our land. And then we migrated to come look for food, end up settling here, and then became slave over time. And so it's time to pick your bags and go back to who you used to be, or leave this bondage. Imagine what could be going on in the minds of those people. Like when I'm presenting the Tikar people and their story, which is what we would have been taught in school, not this colonial history. And so we don't know who we are. So when you are sharing that story, imagine how the Israelites perceived it. Strange. Right? So when I show you this is who you are, your ancestors migrated from Sudan to the Adamawas, to Bafia, and then to the Bamenda Highlands to create a nation. Because this is not a clan, this is not a tribe, this was a civilization. Northwest, as they call you now, that is the Tikar land, Abakwa. That is larger than 40 UN recognized nations with a distinct way of life, culture. Even though you've been stitched with the Southwest, but you can still see the distinction even in your behavior, your culture, your traditions, and your way of life. Incompatibility in this country. Not getting to that realization, we will struggle to make progress. These individuals came with traditions, values, the sacred stool, led by Titam II. Ncharien went over to found Bamun. Ngonso came down and founded Banso in Kumbo. From there, all the other groups migrated from Bam to create a civilization. Slave raids, colonization, stitch us together here. And you believe this new identity. That is what you believe right now, that you are Anglophone. You believe that you're a Cameroonian right now. And now you are being ruled by people that believe that none will ever emerge within their age group and chart a new course that will bring about transformation for everyone. Because the reality is, their fear of change, because that is what is affecting most of the leaders in this country, their fear of change has led them to remain steadfast on power. And at the end of the day, as this transformation is going on around the world, they will not be able to provide for many, because their ideas will be limited to the time that they came in power. So at the end, most of the people within their age group will suffer as well. Because as the world is making progress in technology, in medicine, most of the people within their age group will struggle. But if someone emerges that is younger, has energy, sees what is going on around the world, and implements those ideas, there is a high chance they will be taken care of. Most within their age group will be taken care of. But they will miss out because of the uncertainty of that change. And others believe that. They've conditioned you even to be threatened about those within your age group that can emerge and lead and bring about change in this country. Plus, the francophone superiority, of which many know that they can't lead, but because they are the majority and so they think by default they can lead. Imagine the confusion in this kind of post-colonial country. Now, let me show you something, the Tikar people, and I think this is going to help. I want you to pay attention to this illustration. If I drop this pencil into this glass of water, it looks bent or broken, but it's not. The distortion happens because light bends when it moves from air into water. This is called refraction. So my sensory perception deceives me because light bends when it gets into water. Unless I interact with this object, take it out, I won't change how I believe or what I believe about this pencil if I had to take it from face value based on what I see. my people of the United Kingdoms of Tikar, this is exactly what you look like in Cameroon. If I leave you inside this glass of water, everyone thinks this is what you look like. Studying your history, understanding your genealogy and where you come from is taking you out of that glass of water. Oh, this stick is straight. And this is what God did with the children of Israel, helping them understand their history, their genealogy, and how far they have come as a people. If not, they will remain the stick in the water that everyone perceives is bent. Sensory perception. Through empirical interactions, I get to realize what this substance truly is. When I wrote the book, The Cameroon Dream, came up with CSDP, the Cameroon Sustainable Development Project. It was through that project that I got to understand the people in this country. I believed in this one Cameroon. I mean, more than you. If I throw myself into something, like most of you, I believed in it with all my heart. But I'm a researcher, right? I'm quick to understand a problem just through interaction. And that is when I realized most of the people in this country are not compatible, which enabled me to unpack our entire colonial journey, slave journey, to where we find ourselves today. After you vote for Issa Chiruma and things are not working, I will come back and play this video for you. The people have the will, they can bring about the change, but they deny the power that they have. They won't cooperate to bring about that change that they want. And the leaders that they will choose are the leaders that they have been conditioned to believe have what it takes to bring about that change. In spite of all these numerous examples showing you the individuals that have changed the world and how old they were, you will still somehow run around, convince yourself to choose the image of the leader that you have been conditioned to believe. And this is what I want you to take note of. The Israelites were distinct people living inside a foreign empire. The Tikar people are a distinct civilization living inside a colonial, post-colonial state with no signed treaty with La République du Cameroon. The Israelites adopted Egyptian customs and identity over time. Those from the United Kingdoms of Tikar adopted Cameroonian Anglophone identity over generations. The Israelites struggled to imagine life outside of Egypt. That's why they said, can you take us back? We saw leeks, we saw onions. We have been used to this. The Tikar people can't imagine their identity outside of Cameroon. The Israelites, their liberation began with rediscovering their ancestral story. And the Tikar people, your restoration begins with historical and cultural awakening. The Israelites were in the wilderness, and the wilderness was necessary to build national character. For the Tikar people, your transition period is needed to rebuild institutions and identity, remembering your customs and traditions and how far you've come as a people. For the Israelites, the promised land was theirs by right. For the Tikar people, Tikar sovereignty is ancestral not invented. So this is the distinction. We will continue listening.
Thank you very, very much. May the Lord bless us. Now we are going to sing our national anthem.
That boy said that is where we have a problem. You see that kind of energy, you see that kind of strength, you don't manufacture that. And so you in a Bakwa, Bamenda Highlands, you might have this and you take it for granted. But this is thousands of years of history. You are descendants of black pharaohs that ruled Egypt. And no matter how you try to fit in a system like this, it won't work for you. Issa Chiroma is coming from Garawa, a place that is worse than Bamenda, a place that is worse than most other regions in this country. And that is who you choose at this age to be your leader. It's a deliberate choice. I've heard of the thousands of people that have registered to vote in the Tikar land, and I'm shocked. These are individuals at home being conditioned and brainwashed to believe this. And this can happen for generations. And that is why God called them and reminded them of who they are, brought them out. And today, see Israel and America, thousands of years later, see Israel and America today. That nation, that group of people, stand side by side, the greatest nation on earth. It's not coincidence. Are you hearing anything about Egypt anymore? No. Egypt was a big deal back then. Look at Israel and America today. Arabs now have taken over that land, pushed us down. They call us now Sub-Saharan Africa. All the Tunisia, Libya, Egypt, now today, these are all Arabs that left from Iraq, United Arab Emirates, Jordan. They came during the Arab Inquisition, took over that land and pushed us down. They call us now Sub-Saharan Africa. That is your history. We were there in Sudan. Nubia, that is the name at that time. And we migrated to find ourselves where we are. This is your story. And when you hear it, you get up and say, what should we do? And we start making adjustments. We can build a civilized nation in our lifetime. Lee Kuan Yew did it in Singapore. Do you know how old he was when he started? 35. 35. And by the time he turned 66, Singapore moved from a third world nation to a first world nation in a generation. You need a different kind of energy to break the initial resistance of a country and a system like this. And I've shared this, and I'll continue to say it to the government of La République du Cameroon. You are going to benefit tremendously when these people restore their sovereignty and build a nation based on their identity. Not the Anglophone identity, the authentic Tikar identity. We adopted the Anglophone culture, right? But when you look at the Northwest and the Southwest, you can still see the difference. You think this came from Britain? My dear people of Abakwa, Bamenda Highlands, even though you adopted the so-called Anglophone identity together with those in the Southwest, can't you tell the difference between Northwest and Southwest today? You can, right? Why do you think that is? You are not Bantu people, you are Tikar. You speak the Bantoid language because you adopted Bantu language around that area. Just like those in Sudan today, they speak Arabic because of the Islamic expansion. And when people understand this, they last for more than 1,000 years, like we've seen with the Israelites. Those who forget, they end up fusing into a system that they will be frustrated with for the rest of their life, for generations to come. This will help us build better business relationships with La Republic. The administrative cost is going to cut down significantly because why? They will stop training and deploying soldiers into the Tikar land, Abakwa, Highlands. They will stop deploying soldiers into our land, and so their administrative costs will drop down. These are young men that might serve in other areas in this country. Maybe start a business, maybe go learn a trade, get into engineering, and help solve complex problems within La Republic du Cameroon. And they reduce the administrative costs significantly of training soldiers and deploying them into the Northwest. Corruption is going to reduce. We'll build on a solid foundation that will even help your people to stand tall in this area and start on a solid legal foundation. Why? Since there is no union treaty binding La Republic du Cameroon and the United Kingdoms of Tikar, there is a high chance that your people will have some self-dignity, and at least prove to the world that corruption is not part of your identity. That if somebody shakes your hand, they can go on to do business with you without a doubt in their mind. This is what we are restoring, completing the decolonization process that was left halfway here. No true federal system ever existed in Cameroon. There was no union treaty. Those are the attributes of a federal system. There must be a union treaty. Power is not concentrated in one side. There must be legal guarantees. You must have your own parliament, your own schools, your own police within a federal system. That is what is going on in Nigeria, in Germany, and the United States of America. Without that, there is no true federal system. And so we cannot go on with this and hope that it brings about change. So those who go around say, oh, there was a federal system that was dissolved in 1972 because oil was discovered in the Southwest. Hell no. That is not a solid argument, because a federal system never really existed. It was on paper, but in reality, that was not the case. The Fumban Conference was just talks, conversations. If we are drafting a real federal constitution, we should have input on both sides. That is, we had to draft our own proposed federal constitution. They do theirs, we benchmark it, choose what will work for everyone else, ratify it. That now is a federal system of government. We can put that in play. J.O. Field, John Owen Field, was the British administrator. They call him Your Majesty. He was the one overseeing all the plebiscite and all the things. I mean, he just reported what he saw back to Britain. The administrative cost was high. Remember, I told you, for them, Cold War was going on. They wanted to leave Cameroon as fast as they can. So making sure that the decolonization process was successful was not a priority for them. So at the end of the day, no true federal system ever existed in Cameroon. The exchange of notes was a transfer of administrative authority, which is what Britain had, and not sovereignty, to La Republic du Cameroon. So if we understand these fundamentals, it helps us understand that the reason why we are doing this, we don't have to go to war to achieve this. Singapore was part of Malaysia. They were one. Things didn't work out. They didn't go to war because this mindset that we must fight for our freedom, we have to start changing that thinking in this dispensation. Have clarity on your story, have a conversation. Yes, war can happen, but it should not be the primary thing. Let's invest more time in reasoning, thinking, and making sure that our story is clear and we understand our own problem, diagnose our own problem before we step forward to say, oh, we are in pain. Do you understand? Singapore break away from Malaysia because things didn't work out. They didn't go to war. It was peaceful separation. Again, you can choose your models in life, and whatever you choose becomes your reality. If you believe in this world that you have to fight to get everything that you want, you will play that script. No matter how hard you try, you must end up in what you believe about that situation you're going through. If your entire belief system is that you have to fight, go to war to find victory, you must play that script. Even if an opportunity presents itself in a way that you can have a constructive conversation, show people how you can work together and make progress as one without fighting, you won't choose that option. Because war is what you believe is the best strategy for you to get victory. For those who call themselves Christians, Jesus Christ died for your sins. You don't need to die for anyone to be free or saved. And again, if we are pushed to the wall, should we fight? Yes, but make sure that the story is clear. And so far, everything that the Ambazonians have presented about this crisis, about their story, if I were the white folks, I will not agree to grant them their request, because if you are not clear about your story, I don't trust if you will go on to lead a country. And that is why you see all the controversies online about Chris Ano. In his mind, he believes this is a good move. I know how you can persuade yourself when you find yourself in that kind of a situation and you're trying to make sense of your actions, but it's a lame move. If you understand how the game of chess works, that is a lame move. Do you get it? So this is a problem in Cameroon. The older generation that are in authority believe they are the best Cameroon will ever have. You can't change this in their mind. And none in the younger generation can emerge within the same age they got into power and lead this country. Why those in their 50s and above believe they already have the image that has been imprinted in the minds of Cameroonians as to what a leader looks like. And those in the younger generation believe this mask that has been presented before them as a symbol of leadership. And so with that, there is very little hope for change. And this might go on for the next 50 or 100 years if we don't break this initial resistance as to how people see leadership and see power, see transformation in this part of the world. If we go on to make progress, this transformation, English is changing the world as we speak, significantly. If we have our independence, we can really build solid bilateral relationships that will benefit each other and will help bring stability in this area in the best way possible. We shouldn't be fighting. We are not that. We are strong. We have what it takes in the Tikar land, in Abakwa. But war has never been the strategy our ancestors used in antiquity. And how they saw calamities like this is that God is trying to show us something even in the midst of this. That is what our ancestors from antiquity believed. Not the corrupt version of our tradition that you have been made to believe today. In our tradition, if you are crowned king at the age of 9, you are respected as king. Today it is symbolic. Today, those who are young, smart, talented, hardworking are despised in our community automatically. And so young people are making this video to break that initial resistance for you so that you can lead, you can serve, you can become great and help your parents in the best way possible in this country. And if you keep supporting this image that has been presented before you as the qualification for leadership, you will become 50, resentful, turn back and do the same thing to the younger generation that the previous generation did to you. And you break this initial resistance by rising up and say, we can support someone that is within your age group and make change. Because that is what happened when Ahmadu Ahijo came to power. 35. Both the young and the old supported him to make that progress and install him as the first president in this country. We are in another cycle of change. And to break this initial resistance, for me to rise up and have a message like this on my lips tells you this is an awakening and it's time for change. That is what René Descartes meant by cogito ergo sum. I think, therefore I am. You must have thought a certain way to arrive about what you believe about yourself. You must have been conditioned to think just like this. You must have been conditioned to believe that this stick in this water is really bent, to believe it. And you are refusing to interact with this glass and see, oh, can I turn it around and see, is it really bent? Or take it out and see if it's really bent. You have been conditioned to believe that that is how it looks like. And it will be like that forever.
This is the ballot, the
Votre visite est historique. Elle était attendue. Elle était souhaitée pour tous.
That is what we have as leadership in Cameroon. Great grandparents that are supposed to be resting are the ones you want to lead you. My confusion about this is, why do you accept this at the level of maybe a president or a minister, and then your parents are just 60 and then you feel like they should go to retirement, or they think that you should start assisting them because they are old? If we accept this kind of system, that means we shouldn't have any parent at the age of maybe 70 even looking up to their children for help, because this is the norm. You should still be working at that age as hard as you can, because that is what we see. You will stay at home when a younger presidential candidate shows up in town, but an old man shows up and you rush out there to welcome him and to paint the image around the wall that you acquiesce to this system. Hear how he's speaking. Listen to him. I mean, just listen to what we tolerate. Look at the kind of image we give Africa. Cameroon is one of the worst nations in sub-Saharan Africa because we put up with this. We are being laughed at globally because we put up with this. If you can show up in your numbers, why can't we rally on a vision like this? If thousands, hundreds of thousands of people from the Northwest can register to vote in this system, when you have no legal union treaty with this government, and they claim there was a federal system that was legit and was dissolved. To wrap things up, I want to let all who believed in the Ambazonian cause be loyal to the cause of freedom, not to A Gulf C, not to the IG. Be loyal to the cause of freedom. If you're loyal to IG or A Gulf C or another faction, you are creating the same system you're running away from in Cameroon. Be loyal to the cause of freedom. And if you're loyal to the cause of freedom, you have a flexible mind to change. That is hope even for you. If you're loyal to an individual and you want to stay blind, because I saw the Chris Ano attack, like some other groups use it as a clickbait to prove that their own faction was better than that of Chris Ano. No, be loyal to the totality of this cause of freedom. And that all these individuals had no vision. The vision of Ambazonia was initiated by Gojin Dinga at the age of 54. And that is what he saw in his time, in the 80s. This should be proof that you can see something good, nice coming out from someone within your age group, support it, and break the initial resistance, both the young and the old. Again, above the age of 40, it is hard for anything good to come out and bring about real change in society. Hard. There is a 5 to 10% chance that will bring about true transformation. These foundations are not hard to understand if you really want change. That is Amado Ahijo. Came to power at the age of 35. Amado Ahijo. That is Paul Biya. He started working in that government at the age of 29. That is Isa Churuma Bakari. You get it? That is why I want you to think hard on the decisions you're making right now. I diagnose us like this so that tomorrow when you complain that things are not working, I will come back and play this video before you, that I presented everything that would help you have perspective. You did not share the video enough. You did not call friends and say, let's go this direction. Isa Churuma has spent very little money in this campaign. Those who have spent the most money have not garnered half of the support that Isa Churuma has gathered. There's an image that has been planted in the minds of our people to believe something specific about how they see leadership. A wrinkled face, right? Someone that is within their 70s, and yet inside they desire change. Again, if you're a Christian, God brought about salvation, that you go to church on Sunday, every Sunday, through a man that was in his 30s. By 33, the job was done. And this is your initial resistance to not understand these principles, understand the ways God works. That is a problem you have to deal with. And never ever blame God tomorrow for this, because he shows you everything that you can do to bring about that change. It's a deliberate choice to reject it or accept it, and not a coalition, because Isa Churuma had no coalition, right? But you all supported him. So there is an image that we have been somehow hypnotized by as what symbol of leadership is all about. If these old people that have told you that you're nothing, they don't believe that your pain is authentic, if they accept your pain, that automatically qualifies them as a candidate. And they have something to offer that will bring about the kind of change that you are imagining at this age. You must, and has been working for that same system. Forgive him for the change, but to accept him to lead you is a deliberate choice. You get it? It's a deliberate choice. So tomorrow, because after 2, 3, 4, 5 years, everything is going to come back to the way it was or even worse. And I'll pick up this clip and show you. Again, remember, the North paid for 22 years for picking up arms against this government. Issa Chiroma himself got locked up for 6 years or 7 years, got out of prison, and then was made minister in this country. And I want to let you know, 22 years, the North paid dearly for that attempted coup on the president's life. No leader will come in power and not prosecute the Anglophone zone for picking up arms against this country. You must pay. You must pay dearly. When they will pick up your passport, your ID cards, and they know where you come from, you will pay. Not only will your region be starved, you will pay systematically. They will come up with policies to make sure that they punish you for doing what you did. This forgiveness that you're rendering will never be reciprocated. And never ever say, I didn't say it. And don't blame God. I don't want to hear one in this land rise up to blame God tomorrow. Please, I want to repeat again. No one in this land, the Tikar land, Abakwa, should rise up tomorrow and blame God. Don't do it. Do not. This is a choice I see right now. And I've understood through this campaign the power you had. Denied it. I said it initially that you have this power. You said no. But you can rise up and show up on the streets in your numbers. 80% of the problem in this country is with the people. 20% is this government. I refuse to ever think that a government will ever have more power in a country more than the people. That's never existed in the history of mankind. The government will never ever have more power than the people. And so, if there is an issue in this country, 80% is with the people. And just 20% is with this government. That gives you hope. That means you have the power to rise up and change this. If we say 80% of the power is with the government, then we render the people powerless. But to see that Issa Chiroma was in the Northwest, in the Tikar land, in Bamenda, Abakwa, and we had that crowd out there, tells me the people still have the power more than this government. And they could tell him, do not sing the Cameroon national anthem. And that did not happen in Bamenda. That is power from one person in the crowd. We are not going to sing that song here. That is power that we have. You can deny it. You can say you don't have it, but that's the power we have. To create the first world nation in Africa by uniting on a common story, a common vision, have a strategy, have a mission, have leadership, and the people willing to follow and bring about a change.